How do you subtract rational expressions that have multiple terms? You subtract one rational expression that has multiple terms from another by following these steps. 1. Check if any of the fractions can be simplified. If so, do that. 2. Check if the fractions have a common denominator. If so, you can just perform the subtraction. If not, you find the least common denominator and move on to the next step. 3. Expand the fractions so they all have the LCD. 4. Perform the subtraction. Be aware of the signs. 5. Finally, always remember to check if your answer can be simplified. The same steps apply regardless of the number of terms. Again, these steps can be organized into a flowchart like this. Because you need common denominators, subtracting fractions can require a little work. You also need to keep a close eye on the signs of the terms as you do the calculations that involve parentheses. Let's take a look at two examples of how this works. First, you want to calculate 5a squared over 5a cubed minus 4 over a squared minus a. You start by checking if any of these fractions can be simplified. In the first fraction, 5a squared can be cancelled, leaving you with 1 over a. These two fractions don't have a common denominator, so you need to find the least common denominator. You start by listing and factorizing the denominators. First is a, which can't be factorized further. The second denominator, a squared minus a, can be factorized to a times the quantity a minus 1. Having factorized the denominators, you move on to find the LCD. You include all the factors you need to cover both denominators. This gives you an LCD of a times the quantity a minus 1. The first fraction must be expanded by a minus 1 to get the LCD. This gives you a minus 1 over a times the quantity a minus 1. The fractions now have a common denominator, so you perform the subtraction. A minus 1 minus 4 over a times the quantity a minus 1. This gives you a minus 5 over a times the quantity a minus 1. Your answer can't be simplified, so you're all done. Now, the final example. You want to calculate 4x over x squared minus 9 minus 3 over 2x plus 6. First, check if you can simplify any of the fractions. There are no common factors in any of the fractions, so move on to the next step. These two fractions don't have a common denominator. You start the process of finding the LCD by listing the denominators and factorizing them. X squared minus 9 equals the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3. This expression has been factorized using the difference of squares formula. In the second fraction, 2x plus 6, you can bring 2 outside parentheses and get 2 times the quantity x plus 3. The denominators are now factorized, and there is no simplification possible. So you move on to find the LCD. You include all the factors you need to cover both denominators. This gives you an LCD equal to 2 times the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3. The first fraction has to be expanded by 2 to get the LCD. That gives you 4x times 2 over the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3 times 2. The second fraction must be expanded by x minus 3 to get the LCD in the denominator. That gives you minus 3 times the quantity x minus 3 over 2 times the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3. As you expand these fractions, you get 8x over 2 times the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3, and minus 3x minus 9 over 2 times the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3. Now, both fractions have a common denominator. You perform the subtraction. This gives you 8x minus 3x plus 9 all over 2 times the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3. Notice the change of signs in the numerator. You combine like terms in the numerator and get 5x plus 9 over 2 times the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3. Finally, you check if this answer can be simplified. There are no common factors in the numerator and denominator, so you can't. And you're all done. You subtract one rational expression that has multiple terms from another by following these steps. 1. Check if any of the fractions can be simplified. If so, do that. 2. Check if the fractions have a common denominator. If so, you can perform the subtraction. If not, you find the least common denominator. 3. Expand the fractions so they all have the LCD. 4. Perform the subtraction. Be aware of the signs. 5. Finally, always remember to check if your answer can be simplified.